Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. When it's over, so to say, it'll rain a sunny day. I know, shining down like water. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down a sunny day? Hey, welcome back to Guitar Discoveries. You know, when I started this channel, I swore I would never do guitar lessons, and part of the reason for that was there are so many lessons being taught on the web. But I've gone back and kind of put myself in the shoes of a beginner and thought, you know, there are some things I wish I'd known that could have really helped me have a breakthrough. So today it's the breakthrough lesson for frustrated beginners. So today's episode was inspired by two things. One of my subscribers, Apollo Morris, wrote me and said, I practice every day, but I've only been playing a short time. Sometimes I notice I make little breakthroughs, but this seems to take a long time to learn. Love your show, thanks. All right, thank you, Apollo. I wrote, you're welcome. It does take time, but the little breakthroughs start to stack up, and soon you'll play whole songs smoothly. Once that happens, you're on the way. And then Apollo wrote me this. Thanks for your support. I keep trying. Maybe in the next 2 years, I'll have 10 songs down where I can sing and play. And I thought, wow, if it takes 2 years to learn 10 songs, you're going to lose inspiration. You're just not going to feel like you're making the progress that you have to stay excited about this instrument, right? Yeah, it's tough to learn guitar. So I wrote Apollo back and said this. If you practice 20 to 30 minutes a day, the breakthroughs should come fast. In 4 to 6 weeks, you should be able to play a simple down, up strumming pattern and get your left hand comfortable switching between the most common basic chords. Once you can keep an even beat with your strumming hand and switch between chords without missing a beat, the whole world will open up to you. For example, once you learn G, C, D, E minor, and A minor, there will be hundreds of popular songs available for you to play. Excited for you on your journey. All right, so I want to pick apart a little bit what I said to Apollo, because it's easy to say stuff like that. It's another thing to actually put it in practice. What I've found is that if you think of each of your hands separately, and if you train them separately, you're going to make faster progress. So that's one thing. First thing you're going to want to do, make sure you're sitting up properly, that you're holding the guitar in a comfortable position. It can't be like this. A lot of times people let it slip down because they want to make it look like the chord diagrams. They want to see it clearly. No, you're better off leaning over and keeping it in this nice natural position. I like to lay the waist of the guitar over my right leg. That keeps it comfortable as well, so that this part's back here and your arm just kind of sits naturally like that. All right, as far as the pick goes, what you want to do is make sure that the tip of the pick is perpendicular to your thumb. Your thumb goes across it and it points down. Therefore, when you set it right up against, when you put it near the guitar and you go like this, the tip of the pick is what's going across the strings. One more little tip, when you're going down across the strings, make sure the tip of the pick is pointed up toward you. And then when you come back, let the tip point down. That way you won't be ripping at the strings. You don't want to rip at the strings. So you got to keep your wrist a little bit loose in this process, and that will naturally mean that the tip is pointed up as you go down and pointed down as you go up. So let's talk about those two things that I said. One is about strumming nice and evenly. To practice that, you might want to just put your fingers over the strings so it makes that kind of sound. right? This isn't about making your left hand do pretty things or challenging things right now. All it's about is getting that strumming hand to be able to say, na, 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 na. So it's just down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Notice the way I'm doing that. You can kind of hear the sound of each of the strings as I'm going across them. That'll serve you well if you get that kind of tone. So that's all we're really trying to train your right hand to do. It'd be nice to be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4 downstrokes. And then, those are called quarter notes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, eighth notes down, up, like this. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. I want you to get to a point where you can do that, talk, and never miss a beat. Just that basic strum, you'll be able to play a lot of stuff. So that's what we're trying to get your right hand to be able to do right now for your breakthrough. Now let's talk about the left hand. The other thing that inspired today's lesson was listening to the radio the other day. I'm in my car and I hear "Have You Ever Seen the Rain?" written by John Fogerty, but performed by Creedence Clearwater Revival. You know, it has a piano part and a bass part that are playing do 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 do. They're playing all these notes, right? Individual notes. But guess what? The acoustic guitars in that song are literally doing checka 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 check. They're playing chords, of course, not just the damped strings like that. But the whole song, the acoustic guitar is just using that simple strumming pattern the whole time. And there are only 4 chords in the song. The original's in the key of C. For the purposes of our lesson today, I'm going to use the key of G. And that's only because I can sing better in the key of G. C is way up there. John Fogerty's a high tenor. I'm not. So what I want to do is help you learn how to transition from chord to chord more easily. As long as you can keep this going, if you can switch chords in time for the downbeat every single time, you can then play songs all the way through. That's the goal, right? So there's a couple of things that will help you. Number one is you're going to want to study and put your fingers in specific chord positions, all right? There's the G chord. Now, I'm not covering all the super basic, you got to get your guitar in tune, you know, you got to have decent strings, you know, some of those things. I'm expecting you to know those already. I'm expecting that you've gotten past that and into the frustration of how do I switch between these chords and keep the song going. Play a G chord right now. You know that chord. All right, can you switch your fingers into a C chord position? I like a nice full C chord that uses 4 fingers. Has the low E string involved with your 3rd finger at the 3rd fret. That's my preferred C because you can strum all the way across the strings and it sounds great. So there's your standard G chord. There's your standard C chord. You'll need to also, for this song, know a D chord and an E minor chord. All right, now the question is, how can you get to those chords on time whenever you need to switch? To learn to switch chords smoothly, it really takes practice, of course, but there are 2 things you can do that will make it one heck of a lot easier for you to learn and accomplish quickly. One is anticipate, 2 is visualize, okay? Now, by that I mean, in this particular song, the whole first line is a G chord. Just like this. Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. What's coming next is a D chord, okay? So you're playing along on that G chord. You're anticipating by looking ahead and saying, next chord I'm going to have to play is a D, all right? So that's what you know. You anticipate the D chord. Then visualize, what does that D chord look and feel like? So without even using your strumming hand, it's a good idea to start saying, what does it feel like to go from a G to a D, a G to a D, a G to a D, a G to a D. Start thinking about it in those terms, all right? And you may be able to get to a place where you can hammer on and even hear. Now, another really important secret that will help you with the breakthroughs. You do not have to switch instantaneously. So if you think about 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, the and, you can actually lift your hand up to move to the next string, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you notice there's that upstroke was all the open strings. Guess what? When you're moving, listen to what happens. Happening. I'm literally, that upstroke is all the open strings, but it sounds okay, right? That buys you that eighth note, that time to get your hand from one position to the other. Now you're going to want to practice this slowly, right? But the most important thing is that your hand is in position and ready when you strum across on that downbeat. You have to be there or you don't have a song. So what is it again? You're cruising along. You're going to anticipate, I'm about to go to a D, and then you're going to visualize what does that D look like. That'll help your hand get ready to go into that position, and then lift and get there. All right, do the positions without strumming until you can actually do that kind of thing and press and hit the chord. It's not going to sound great, but when you can do that, you'll know you're really starting to get second nature working. All right, anticipate, visualize, move. Anticipate, visualize, move. Anticipate, visualize, move. Each time you do that, and know that at least in this key, you can use that upstroke to buy you the time you need to get your hand into the next position. That's going to be a breakthrough for you. Okay, so here's the song with our anticipating, visualizing, and moving. I won't be able to talk you through all that while we're going along, but you can watch what my hand does and how I use that upstroke without the hand on the strings. And sometimes I might play it a little more gently because I don't want to go, you know, that's not the point, but it's just it lets your hand keep that rhythm. That strumming rhythm always moves forward. It never stops, right? It's just got that groove and that feel. That's what you want. Long. I'm thinking D now, and I'm up D. It's been coming, here comes the G. I keep holding the G. When it's over, so they say. All right, I'm anticipating D, visualizing, and there it is. Shining, here comes the G. Okay, the chorus is coming. I'm going to a C. Now to a D. Now to a G. And then an E minor. C. Here comes D. Now G. Now E minor. C. D. So you saw what just happened there. I bought myself that eighth note of time to move. Now, you may want to take a little more time doing this. You could play simple quarter notes, downstrokes only, if you want to really practice moving those fingers, right? If you want to take a little more time, and if you're feeling frustrated, wow, you made that look so easy. How do I actually do it? You can play quarter notes. Okay, so in that case, if you're playing quarter notes, You're not going to have that upstroke with all the strings open. You don't need that anymore, right? You'd play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then change and be ready for the D, or be ready for the C, or be ready for the E minor. Wherever you're going, you're going to want to be ready. But when you're just doing downstroke quarter notes, you can lift and move to the next chord right after you've hit that fourth beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that works. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift, down. All right? That's a good way to practice if you're finding you're having a little trouble with it. But it will really help you to say, what's coming? Look ahead at your lyrics and your chords to say, what is the next place I need to go? Visualize what that finger position looks like. That will help your hand make the formation and get there on time. That's what's important. Now, depending on the style of music that you're really into, if you happen to be into, for example, folk rock from the 70s, people like John Denver or Paul Simon or James Taylor or Cat Stevens, you're going to find that there are a whole lot of songs you can play with a minimal number of chords and with simple strumming. Also true of country music, right? A lot of country songs are based on very, very simple chords, and many of them are in the key of G. Similarly, blues. Many blues are in the key of E or A. And so just by learning a few basic chords, E, A, B7, E, or A, D, E, A, you can learn to play some blues. You might learn the 7th chord variations. And that gives it a bluesy feel. All you're doing is taking this same concept initially, this simple down, up, down, up, down, up, and applying it to different chord shapes. Now, what will happen to you is you'll find that once this breakthrough of being able to play songs all the way through occurs, and when you realize that, hey man, that's what John Fogerty did on Have You Ever Seen the Rain? He just played jinga, jinga, jinga all the way through. He didn't do anything fancy. Now, once you really feel comfortable, you're moving around, you want to have another breakthrough? Here's an easy one for you. Normally, when you're playing alone, you're accompanying yourself, you want to have a little bit of a feel like, oh, I want it to have a little bit more of a rockin' kind of a feel, you know? I want to feel a backbeat a little bit. Easy way to do that is to think the way most drummers play, okay, there's usually a snare on 2 and 4. Part of what you can do with your strum is emphasize slightly beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. That's one way to add some subtlety to the way you play that will give it a little bit of a lilt, a little bit of a vibe that you don't have when you're just strumming perfectly straight across the strings. As you continue to practice, that's when you'll start to experiment with different ways of strumming, ways of adding more percussive elements to the way you get around this. So for example, you might start to say, someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. There's all kinds of things that you can do to fancy things up, but understand, his original didn't have that. You don't need it. All right, there are your breakthroughs. If you're a frustrated beginner, I hope these tips with just 2 or 3 20 to 30 minute sessions will get you starting to feel much more comfortable moving around with the basic chords and therefore able to play so many songs that you can't even believe it. So, hey Apollo, you're not going to take 2 years to get to that point where you can play 10 songs. Let's say 2 weeks maximum. You're going to be there, you're going to be playing, you're going to be having fun. That's what this is all about. I'm glad we took the time to do a little bit of a lesson today. I really hope it's helpful. For those of you who are more advanced guitarists, I hope you find some value in some of this. It kind of reminds you, oh yeah, those are the building blocks. What it made me realize hearing that incredible CCR song was sometimes my favorite artists layer their guitar tracks in such a way that Certain guitars are playing very basic parts, and it's part of the magic. So, have you ever seen the rain? I certainly have, but I've also seen the light, and I hope this helps you see the light. Please go to guitardiscoveries.com, but more importantly, subscribe here so that you get notified of all my new videos. Thanks for sticking with me through this very basic lesson. I hope it helps a bunch of you really make the breakthrough. All right, see you next time.